A prominent ANC councillor uncovers widespread municipal tender fraud, but instead of turning the blind eye or asking for his cut, he compiled his evidence and planned to report those involved. This decision would cost him his life. This is the story of Moss Phakwe. Let's get into it. Moss was an ANC councillor in the Rustenburg municipality. He was also a dedicated trade unionist with the Congress for South African Trade Unions and a shop steward for the National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa. He had been a member of the ANC from its underground days, and in the early 1990s became a shop steward while working at a factory in Bratz. His colleagues and comrades remember him as someone who valued fighting for liberation over personal gratification. Together with his friend and colleague and confidant Alfred Mutsi, Phakwe uncovered extensive evidence of corruption, fraud, nepotism, and mismanagement of funds in the Bojanala Platinum District municipality in the Northwest Province. The documents that the two compiled documented multi-million rand fraud, including allegations of corruption related to the outsourcing of management of the Rustenburg Kloof, a council-owned resort. Phakwe and Mutsi didn't just report the corruption to local authorities. They also took it to the highest level of the ANC. In the months leading up to his murder, Phakwe had either met or phoned several ANC leaders on numerous occasions in an effort to get them to stop the rot he had uncovered in Rustenburg municipality. And in December 2008, Phakwe and Mutsi went to Nkandla, KZN, to the home of the then President Jacob Zuma himself. After that meeting, ANC Secretary General at the time, Gwede Mantashe, invited Phakwe and Mutsi to a meeting in January in 2009. This meeting would be held in Potchefstroom. The ANC's top 6 leadership were present at the meeting, as well as provincial leadership. Also present was a man named Matthew Wolmarans, the mayor of Rustenburg at the time. And he was one of the key figures implemented in Phakwe's corruption allegations. According to Mutsi, Mantashe scorned him as a troublemaker and that the ANC leadership did little to stop Wolmarans, who appeared to be untouchable at that point. Mantashe later denied some of these details, though he admitted to speaking to Mutsi several times before the murder. The late Sicelo Shigeka, then Minister of Corporate Governance and Traditional Affairs, was also asked by ANC leaders to investigate the allegations, and on the 12th of March 2009, Phakwe and Mutsi met with Minister Shigeka and handed him a detailed dossier of evidence containing allegations of corruption amounting to millions of rands. Wolmarans was also present at this meeting. According to Mutsi's testimony during the subsequent murder trial, when Phakwe told Shigeka about the evidence of the dodgy Rustenburg Kloof deal, Wolmarans' face immediately changed. And according to evidence later presented in court, Phakwe told the mayor at the meeting, "Hate me, but don't hurt me." 2 days later, on the evening of the 14th of March 2009, 2 days after the meeting with the Minister of Corporate Governance and Traditional Affairs, Moss Phakwe returned home to Rustenburg North. He had just come back from putting up election posters for the ANC ahead of the 2009 general elections. As he parked his car in his driveway, he was shot at close range. His body was found slumped over the steering wheel of his BMW, killed just 2 days after handing over the dossier to a government minister in the presence of the very man he was accusing.
Moss Phakwe was a father of 3, and he died trying to do the right thing. Following a lengthy investigation, the NPA brought Matthew Wolmarans and his former bodyguard Enoch Machaba to trial for Phakwe's murder. The prosecution argued that Wolmarans had masterminded the killing, while Machaba was responsible for the actual shooting. Wolmarans was arrested on the 24th of September 2011, together with Amos Matabure and Oupa Mpomane. And the charges against Matabure and Mpomane were dropped during the first week of the trial, leaving only Wolmarans and his bodyguard, Machaba, as the accused in this murder. Throughout the trial, which ran until 2012, evidence revealed that Wolmarans viewed Phakwe as his adversary and a major threat to his political power in the municipality. Machaba, it was established, had simply followed orders when he shot the councillor. On the 17th of July 2012, Judge Ronnie Hendricks handed down the verdict in the Northwest High Court, sitting in Rustenburg. He found both men guilty. Addressing Wolmarans, the judge was unequivocal, stating, "The deceased was your rival. He challenged you on things he did not like. He accused you of corruption, and that angered you." Hendricks said that because Wolmarans saw Phakwe as an opponent, he plotted to kill him. You employed the services of the accused number 1, Machaba, to eliminate the deceased. Machaba was sentenced to life imprisonment, and Wolmarans received a sentence of 20 years. Outside court, Phakwe's supporters, dressed in red t-shirts, celebrated the sentencing by singing liberation songs. It seemed finally that justice had been served. However, the story does not end there. The pair immediately applied for leave to appeal their convictions. This was initially refused by the Northwest High Court. They persisted, taking the case to the Supreme Court of Appeal. While waiting for the ruling, they applied for bail and were released on bail of 100,000 rands each. In 2014, 5 years after the murder, the Supreme Court of Appeal overturned both convictions. The 3 judges who presided over the matter had found that the court that convicted Wolmarans and Machaba failed to ensure that the case was properly investigated and rather relied on information that could not be corroborated and failed to show the leads that could have disproved the men's alleged involvement in the murder. The reason, a key witness, a man named Emmanuel Masoka, who had shared a prison cell with Wolmarans while awaiting trial, had recanted his testimony. Masoka had previously implicated Wolmarans in the murder, claiming that Wolmarans had confessed to him, but later recanted it in an affidavit, claiming that police had offered him money and to drop the theft charges against him if he implicated Wolmarans. After serving only about a year of his sentence, Matthew Wolmarans was acquitted and released, and so was his former bodyguard. Both men walked free. The case, therefore, is another one of those that remain unsolved, as neither the hitman or mastermind or masterminds have been arrested and convicted for their role. That is it for today's video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, which is sure to generate an interesting debate about this topic of whistleblowing in South Africa. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you in the next one.